All right, our first guest on In the Closet is Tatiana Storm Rafael. She's a friend of mine that I have known since 2014-ish, and I met her at the gym where I was a trainer, and I worked with her a few times there and recently off and on as well. She has an amazing story, an amazing journey, and is very, very inspirational. She is the first transgender person I have ever been able to get to know. Every once in a while in life, you run into someone that opens your eyes and makes you see things just a little bit differently. Tatiana is definitely one of those people. So, Tatiana, welcome to In the Closet with the Runyons.
Yes, hello.
Hey.
We're so glad to have you as our first guest.
We are.
And it's by phone.
I feel honored.
And it's by phone, of course, because she lives in Atlanta, and unfortunately, we don't live there anymore. We did for 8 years, but now we're here. So anyway, welcome, and here we go. Tell us a little bit about your background and about your family and about yourself.
Wow, okay. So I was born and raised in Charleston, West Virginia for the first 8 years of my life. Mm-hmm. And then in 1999, me and my mother and my stepdad, we relocated to Columbus, Ohio. And I lived there for close to 9 years. And so that was, a totally different experience, of course, than growing up in West Virginia, because it was a, bigger city and more to do. So,
right.
I enjoyed my time in Columbus. And then in 2006, my mother got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer.
Oh, okay.
And so she didn't smoke or anything, so we really don't exactly know what happened.
Crazy.
Yeah, she was not a smoker. The only thing that I think might have happened, and I've never really found out because I was afraid I'd be too angry, but she was working for the Ohio Health Department. And at the time that she got sick, they were removing asbestos from the building.
Oh.
And they ensured the workers that nobody would, get sick or be harmed. But I feel like that's probably what did it was the asbestos.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that was like a side trail. But so she got sick in 2006, and the doctors gave her 3 months to live. The odd thing was she actually studied cancer for her job. So anyway, but she lived a year beyond what the doctor had predicted that she would. And so she passed in 2007, and I was 16 at the time.
Oh, wow.
And so after that, tragedy happened in my life. I was uprooted from everything that I had, become used to for almost 10 years.
Right.
I was uprooted from, my friends and family in Columbus, my school, my church, everything. And I moved back to West Virginia with my dad and my stepmom.
Okay.
And I stayed here, and I stayed, in West Virginia, for 10 years. And so skip, a lot of crazy things happened during that time period. I lost a ton of weight because I was a big person. Oh my
really?
God.
Really?
And, yeah, I used to be, before I lost weight, because I lost weight after my mom passed away in 2007. But before that time, I was huge. I was like 275.
Oh my
and
gosh.
You've seen me. I'm a short person. So,
I did not know that. I did not know that at all. You would have never known that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I was huge because I'm like 5'6".
Right.
So I was 275 and very unhealthy and just all that kind of stuff. So I lost like 100 pounds when I got back to West Virginia.
Oh, wow.
And so that was crazy. And so, did a lot of growing and things while I was here. And it's crazy because I think there are certain things, positive things that happened in my life that may not have happened if I hadn't lost my mother. And not to make it sound like a good thing, but I think sometimes you can have beautiful things that come out of a very bad experience.
Yes,
you know?
definitely.
And so that's kind of the way I see that. But anyway, when I graduated from high school, I decided to go to Bible college. I was like a huge Christian person at one time.
Okay.
And, you know, now I'm not, but
yeah.
but I was. And I went to Bible college in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
And I was there. And so after that experience in Bible college, I actually decided to go into Christian ministry as a missionary for about 7 years. And I traveled the world with different places, you know, and I preached, and that was my job.
Wow.
And so I did that for 7 years. I started traveling when I was 19.
Uh-huh.
And I stopped somewhere around, I think, like 25. I was 25 when I stopped. And really what was going on, though, this entire time was crazy because when I initially went to Bible college, that's when I started recognizing and really acknowledging that, hey, you're attracted to men,
Okay.
you know?
Right.
Because at this time, you know, I was still living as a man. Like, this is long before the whole trans thing.
Okay.
And so we're talking maybe 2009.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm in Bible college. This is the worst time for me to be having these feelings, you know?
Right.
and so I tried everything in my power for the next 6 or 7 years to push down those attractions because, of course, the type of churches I grew up in, it was taught that, hey, you know, you can't be gay, you can't be this, you can't be that.
Right.
So it was deeply ingrained in my mind that this is wrong. And I struggled with that a lot. I mean, I would go to churches, you know, when I was still in ministry and preaching, and tell people, hey, you have the victory, God loves you, blah, 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 and then come home and be behind my door crying and depressed. It was a hot mess.
Wow.
So
what?
I think when I was about, go ahead, I'm sorry.
What denomination, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I started off Baptist.
Uh-huh.
And then by the time I was like into my teenage years, we were part of like more of a Pentecostal denomination. It was the Assemblies of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was a licensed minister with the Assemblies of God.
Okay.
Well,
for several years.
Yeah, I grew up in a very strict Christian family. Ange did too. But this is fascinating to me. This is like really, I could talk probably to you for days.
Yeah.
Because it's, I went to, me and Ange graduated from Mount Vernon Nazarene University. I grew up in a Nazarene church.
Oh, wow, okay.
Very similar to Baptist beliefs. Pretty much the same, except a few fundamental differences.
Right.
But to me, that's fascinating. I mean, I spent a summer in Africa with my uncle as a missionary. I
neat. Okay.
I was a religion minor. So I went from a very kind of dogmatic mindset up until, you know, I got out of my household and got into my own family and started questioning things. I think everybody goes through that. I think it's okay to. I mean, I think I think you should. I think God, Christ, that's all such a different thing to me now than it was then. And the negative things that I look back on, like what you're saying, what it teaches you, and it's really not it. If you really study like like Christ, that's not what he was about. But it's like the people are threatened or something. They don't trust God enough.
Exactly.
To embrace everybody and say, because anytime you say something negative or you start excluding people and you just want this certain crowd, to me it's like you're scared. You're scared to death and you really don't know what you believe in. Because why wouldn't you embrace everybody if you really believe God is almighty and powerful? But I could talk. I'm just fascinated with religions, all religions. And this part's like a curveball for me, which gives me chills a little bit because I really have kind of a heart for people who are shut out. I have homosexual friends and believers even that are homosexual and
Right.
Now someone that's I consider you as transgender, transsexual friend. I'm still trying to figure out the right wording without saying it wrong, but
I use either one.
Okay.
Because I mean, there's I don't know. I just this is fascinating. So I'll let you continue, but that blows my mind.
It does.
I mean. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It does. What I didn't know is and was a question I was going to ask here soon is, so you just started feeling kind of that way while you were at Bible college. So you weren't younger thinking that you felt a certain type of way, or you felt like that something was
That's a good question.
Going on.
I think I always knew.
Okay.
But I never really acknowledged it and gave it a name. Until I was in Bible college.
Okay.
I think, because when I was younger, I can remember the very first boy I was attracted to. I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I knew I liked him. It was very evident to me that I was attracted to that.
Okay.
And so I was probably 4 or 5 when I very first realized, okay, something is different here. And then I can remember being in 3rd grade, and it was like sometime maybe around the beginning part of the school year, and I came home one night and I was crying, and I told my mom, I said, well, there's this boy in my class that I like more than I should. And she was like, oh, it's just the devil trying to attack your mind. It'll go away. So it was hard to even acknowledge this thing and give it a name.
Okay.
Because I was taught to be so ashamed.
Right.
And as far as the whole trans thing, I guess we can get to that later. But
yeah.
But I knew my whole life that I was trans. But again, I didn't know what to call it until I got much, much older.
Okay.
But yeah, so I ended up when I was 25. Maybe I was 24. I think I was 24. When I was 24, I completely left ministry altogether. I couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
I was burning out. I was depressed. I felt like I was lying to everyone.
Yeah.
And really what the last straw was for me is I went to this youth conference, and I had been invited to speak. And there was this young woman, and I knew that she was lesbian.
Right.
And she came up for prayer. And I the only thing I felt prompted to do inside was to give her a hug. And I just embraced her. And right after I let her go, like I didn't say anything to her, I just gave her a hug. Right after I let her go, some of the older ladies in the church started gathering around her and like shouting at her.
Oh.
And saying come out and da 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 da. I mean, just completely undoing the love that I was trying to give her, that I knew that she needed.
Right.
And
so
after
bad.
that, I'm like, you know what? I just can't do this anymore. I cannot get up here and see people treated this way.
Yeah.
And be a part of something like this. And that was the last straw for me. After that meeting, after that youth conference, I quit cold turkey from ministry.
Wow.
And just completely walked away. And so when I was 25, so February 2016, I came out very publicly on Facebook as gay.
Okay.
And so that had a mixed response, a lot of positive, but a lot of negative as well. I think people knew, though. I'm like, honey, Ray Charles would have seen this. So don't even be surprised.
No.
All y'all knew I liked it, so don't even be surprised.
Oh, that's...
But,
I think I remember that on Facebook. Now, did you tell, like, your family first, or did you just... Was that your platform and that's just what you did?
My family knew.
Okay.
I actually came out to my family several years prior.
Oh,
so
okay.
I came out to my family maybe 2012.
Okay.
Nice.
And I came out to the world 2016.
Okay. How did your family? What was their reaction initially?
Well, they were definitely not in favor of it.
Okay.
Especially initially. And they really struggled because all of us come from a very religious background. So it was just they couldn't get past, well, the Bible says this. Which,
right.
of course, anybody who, this is the one reason I'm so glad that I went to Bible college and that I was exposed to different theologians over the years.
Yes.
Because you learn that you can't really take Scripture at face value.
Right.
It is very much a parable, and it's symbolic, and it has to be interpreted. You can't just say, oh, it says this, and take it for that, you know? But for many years, I was too ignorant to understand that.
Yeah.
But we all came from a very religious background, and so they were not in favor of it. But they started coming around and accepting it more and more as the years went by.
Yeah.
But it was crazy because after I came out as gay, I want to say maybe, I don't know, somewhere between 6 months to a year later, I started realizing, I said, no, there's something more.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's not just gay. I don't know how to explain this without being blunt.
Be blunt.
Yeah, just go ahead.
You can say whatever you want on here.
This is a podcast. We don't care.
Thank you. I was a little worried.
No. Go. You're good.
It was almost like I felt this complete disassociation with my body. Like, I didn't like having a dick.
Yeah.
I didn't like not having breasts.
Right.
I mean, I felt like I was in the wrong body completely.
Okay.
Wow.
I didn't enjoy being a man. I didn't enjoy having to behave in masculine ways. It was so much deeper than just, oh, I'm gay. That's how I knew something was just, it was deeper than that, you know? And then I started looking back on my life, and I was like, oh, this makes sense now.
Yeah.
I'm trans.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I can remember when I was like maybe 4, I was in preschool, and this was a Christian school that I went to, and we had this little play area in my preschool, and it was like a little house area, and they had costumes. And I can remember when I was like 4 years old, I would inevitably always put on the dress, and I always wanted to play the mom.
Okay.
Like, nobody coerced me to do that. Nobody dared me to do that. It was naturally what I gravitated toward.
Very interesting.
And it was just like, I guess I started looking at examples like that all throughout my life. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this has been in my face the entire time, and I just haven't known what to call it or what it was.
Wow. Okay.
I thought it was just, oh, I'm gay. No, I'm a trans woman, and I'm attracted to men, and this is who I am.
Wow.
And it started to make sense. And so I guess it would have been 2017, summer of 2017, so last year, I fully acknowledged that I am a trans woman, and I started transitioning.
Okay.
And
go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, I think it's funny because this always comes up, and you probably heard it a lot as I did, and I've had many arguments, but and it's mostly for me because the transsexual, transgender has been, homosexuality is much more talked about and especially over the last 10, 15, 20 years, whatever. But it's a choice. You hear that from the religious side, and that's what I grew up in. It's a choice. And my argument has always been, and it's not even an argument, it's just like, I remember a pastor friend of mine who's a good friend of mine. He's still a good friend. But I would say to him, I'd say, hey, and he would laugh because I'm not always clean about things, but I'd say, hey, so when did you decide that you didn't like sucking dick? When did you decide? Because for me, since I was a child, all the way up through, I just knew that I was attracted. Like I never even, like you're saying, you don't know why, you don't know. I didn't make a choice, is what I'm saying. I basically knew that girls made me feel a certain way. Guys never did. I was never weird around guys. I was never like embarrassed, like oh gosh, he's going to see me without my shirt on or short. Like none of that. And I don't think like everything you're saying here kind of validates that. Is like you, and it validates it to you knew you're not in your, the way you were as a man was not right. You didn't choose it, but you didn't feel right, and you didn't choose to not feel right. What you were was a female, just like I knew I was straight, just like I have a friend who went to my Christian college who I admire hugely, who was gay, and he never told anybody in college.
No, but I knew. I mean, we knew.
We knew.
Like you were saying,
he was my roommate.
You feel like your family knew, and like we knew.
He's an amazing person. He has a husband and children. And it's like, thank God we live in a day where he can have that. Now he fights adversity, I'm sure, but the transgender community, from what I've researched and seen, they face so much diversity right now.
Oh, it's difficult. I mean, you have to be a very brave person to be trans.
Oh, yeah.
And because you put up with so much, and you never, I'll say, especially if you are a trans woman of color, you know, if you're a black trans woman, it can be especially dangerous. I heard recently that the average life expectancy for a black trans woman is 35 years old.
What?
Yeah, 35. We're only expected to live to be 35 years old.
Why?
And that's because so many black trans women are murdered.
Oh, my.
And, of course, it doesn't make news headlines because nobody gives a shit.
Oh,
but
my God.
Those are the stats. Yeah, 35.
That's insane.
I did not know that.
It's like, I mean, it blew my mind because I guess at the time when I heard this, I'm thinking, well, I'm 8 years away from that. You know, average. And I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that brings up a point. The last time you and I talked at Starbucks, we kind of talked about this a little bit, how you feel, like, what are some, I don't want to say challenges, but things that you have to deal with on a daily basis when you go out. Now, you have transitioned some since the last time we met, but before that, before you started doing, and we'll get to this in a minute, but the hormone replacement, whatever, like before that, when we met at Starbucks, what were some of the things that the challenges that you faced just going out and being you?
Well, back then it was especially difficult because I had just started my transition. And people don't understand. You basically, number one, it's like going through middle school all over again. You're awkward. You look weird. You know?
Yeah.
You're trying to find your look. I mean, it's like middle school all over again when you are first transitioning because it's an adjustment period.
Yeah.
And so some of the things that I had to put up with, you know, of course, people staring at me just completely, just like so rude, you know, like not even caring if I saw them stare.
Absolutely.
Staring at me, of course, comments being made when I would pass by. You know, and then too, at the time when I started transitioning, I had already started attending Morehouse College. And for those that don't know, that's a historically all-male school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was very difficult because out of 2,000 plus male students, it was only me and one other trans woman who were open on the entire campus.
Oh, my goodness.
So two compared to 2,000 plus. I mean, talk about being a minority. We're barely on the map.
Yeah.
And so, of course, being on that campus, I had to put up with a lot of ridicule and rude remarks and things like that. So it was difficult, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's a great analogy of saying that you're like a middle school girl again, because that is probably 100% one of the most awkward times you'll ever face in your entire life is being a middle school girl. It's awful. Jeff, I'm sorry you can't relate.
I've had 3 middle school girls that are in high school now, and I've watched, and it's a horrible phase.
It is.
Oh, God bless you all.
I'm telling you, that's why we're sitting here in this closet right now. Okay, but so tell us a little bit. You started this transition journey. This is what fascinates me. Like everything that you and your body and your mind has to go through. What is that journey like?
Oh my God, it's like puberty.
Oh wow.
I mean, it really is. And especially going through puberty again at 27, because that's when I started.
Right.
Oh my God, like The first time was bad enough.
And this time you're going through it in a whole different. You're getting a whole different turn on it, right?
Yeah.
Well, what for me, what I'm hearing is it's like you're fighting for who you really are. It's like people. This is harder than just probably going with the grain.
Yeah.
You're actually fighting. You're gonna face adversity. You're gonna face criticism. You're gonna face losing people. But
Absolutely.
you're fighting for who you are, which to me, it's an eye opener. It's to say, why are people crushing people and beating on people that know who they are? I mean, so many people out there walk around that are completely masculine, completely feminine, completely look like they have it all together. They don't. They don't know who the hell they are.
Right.
And they won't even fight for who they are.
Yeah.
And what you're going through, you're taking the, it seems to me, and maybe I'm over exaggerating, but I guess it's inspiring because it's like this person, Storm, is decided I'm gonna be who I am, and I'm gonna fight for it, and I'm gonna go through a lot of crap.
Yeah.
But I have to be true to myself. So I mean, I'm sorry I jumped in there,
That's
but
okay.
it's like it kind of gets me.
So she has to go through puberty all over again, like she just
Who
said.
would choose to do that?
Exactly.
You would have to be certifiable to even choose that for yourself. And a lot of people don't understand, the whole trans, on that, because I think that's a good thing to maybe mention real quick, the whole thing about trans being a choice. A lot of people don't realize that trans, it's not a disorder. I don't want to say that because that is not an accurate term, but it is a condition of the mind. It's, any trans person that you meet is going to deal with what's called gender dysphoria.
Yes, I saw that.
Which is a disassociation with their body. They feel like they're in the wrong body, essentially. And so it's, you really are, as a trans person, you're dealing with something, and it's called gender dysphoria. So people think we just choose. It's like, no, we're actually dealing with a very real condition, and the only way to solve that condition is by transitioning, or else it continues to get progressively worse.
Okay.
And harder to handle.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that, what was the question again? I'm sorry. I got
No, we were just talking about how,
Well,
totally
let me ask something real quick, because it's the gender dysphoria, or I guess because I'm not really educated. I'm trying to learn. But, like, transgender, when is it, and this is probably a silly question, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, and maybe some people that are going to church and just never even thought about it might listen to understand.
No, they've already turned it off by now.
I think I said shit. So, and you said dick.
I did.
So we lost them.
A couple times.
But my thing is that I'm so, like, I have so many questions, but
feel free to ask.
The transitioning part, like, once you transition, like, I don't know what stage you're in. I want to hear about it, or if you're complete, or if you're, I don't know. But, like, when you transition and you're a woman, are you still considered, do you still call yourself transgender, or you call yourself a woman? I mean...
Okay, good question. Point. At the end of the day, I just prefer for people to see me as a woman.
Yes.
That's how I see you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. We talked about that earlier. Jeff and I did. I was like, I don't know the answer. Let's ask her. I don't know.
Well, it's like, I mean, I don't know if that's what...
Right.
I don't know if that's something you're supposed to always, like, consider a friend that's transitioned, that they're... I would think you'd call them a woman.
Right.
She's like, right now, I call you a woman. You've been a woman the whole time that we've talked.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. I think I'll say, and even from the trans people that I've been able to connect with in Atlanta and been able to talk to, trans men and trans women, both of them, at the end of the day, they just want to be seen woman. They don't necessarily want to always have to walk around saying, I'm a trans man,
Sure.
I'm a trans woman. You know, at the end of the day, this is just who we are.
Yes.
We're just men, we're just women, and we happen to be, you know, or another way that I sometimes refer to myself is a woman of trans experience.
Ooh, that's good.
You know, so, you know, I mean, just depending, there's different ways to phrase it, but at the end of the day, it's just woman, or trans man, it's just man. But, you know, I try to always emphasize that, you know what, trans women are real women no matter where they're at in their transition journey, because something that can be so damaging to a trans person who's in the very, very beginning of their transition is when people refuse to look at them as the gender that they believe and feel they are.
Okay.
Because, you know, they haven't started changing yet, or because they haven't, you know, and people don't realize that gender really is psychological and it's social. It's not really biological.
Okay.
Right.
Sex is biological, but gender is really in the mind and the emotions and things like that.
Isn't there a
But
feminist?
yeah, that can be very damaging.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a and I'm going off just me being on social media all the time, but isn't there like a feminist group that's like hateful towards transgender women?
Oh gosh, yes.
Like you can't just turn into a woman and feel like you've been a woman all your, you know what I mean? Like reap the benefits, which I don't know what benefits, I don't know what they mean, but isn't there,
Yes.
I mean, you guys are getting hate from
You're
every
absolutely
direction.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, it comes. I mean, the stupidity just comes from all different directions. But you know, you just push through it. You know, and if you know this is who you are, then you know you just find a way to push through it, and you find a way to evolve into this person that you see in your mind. You know,
Right.
So.
Well, this journey though, where does it start when you decide that you're actually going to do the full transition? Where does that start? Like medically
for me,
and hormonally.
Yeah. So for me, if I'm understanding the question correctly, you know, when I fully acknowledged that I was a trans woman and I was going to make this move in my life, you know, I didn't know where to start. I mean, I was scared to death.
Yeah.
Because, you know, part of me, the only thing I'd ever known was being a man.
Right.
So I didn't know what to expect.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm just going to keep it like 100.
Yeah.
So
Do it.
before any surgeries, before any hormones, any of that, I had, of course, done some research. And I was probably 26 at the time. And, you know, it's one of the side effects of the hormones is erections go away.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, hold on. wait.
I'm out.
You know, because I didn't know, like I said, this is before any surgeries or anything like that I've had. I was just a novice, you know, and I couldn't imagine life, and I couldn't imagine my body functioning differently than it always had. So it was just scary. So, you know, but I didn't know where to start. I mean, I just probably fumbled around for several months trying to figure out what to even do.
Yeah.
And so finally, you know, it was gradual for me. During the fall of 2017, I started dressing in women's clothing more.
Okay.
And I'm going through all this just to kind of show people how it's a gradual process, you know?
Good, yeah.
And so for several months during the fall of 2017, I would kind of alternate between men's clothes and women's clothes because I was still, to be honest, quite scared, you know, to be seen in women's clothing all the time.
Right.
And so, you know, January of 2018 is actually when I started dressing as a woman full time.
Okay.
And got rid of all my male clothes, all of that. And so at the beginning of this year, well, not the beginning, maybe like April, is when I started the hormone therapy.
Okay.
And that has been a roller coaster in and of itself. But it's been gradual. It's been very gradual. I mean, it was learning how to dress differently, which, oh my God, when I first started trying to dress in women's clothing, I looked a hot fucking mess. I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean,
that's great.
It was a sight.
That's
it was
great.
A sight. I don't even know how to explain it. And of course, learning how to do your makeup. Oh God, I look like Bozo.
Oh no, listen, your makeup. No, back up. When we met at Starbucks, your makeup and your nails were on point. I was like, what? How can I not know? Like, you need to come do my makeup. I can't do it. I mean, it's crazy. And that's funny, though, because when we met, though, to bring that up, we were talking about, because you hadn't started the hormones yet, we were talking about how you train once you have these female hormones, and because it is different. But, yeah, and I don't forget when we met, but you hadn't started the hormones yet.
I hadn't.
No.
And I appreciate that, though, but yeah, it was very hard learning curve for me.
Yeah.
To, because of course I knew how to dress like a man.
Right.
I knew how to act like a man because that's all I'd ever known. But, when you're trying to really morph into who you are, that's a big learning curve.
Sure.
And so, but I started the hormones and did what I needed to do medically to get my body where I want it to be. And I'm still, working on my body.
Okay.
But, it's been a journey.
Wow.
Can I ask a blunt question?
Oh, my gosh. I'm afraid, but sure.
I'm scared, but sure.
And if this is
my
offensive, we will cut it out. And you can never talk to me again.
You can never talk to him, but this is
just
not
kidding.
me.
I'm just kidding. But do you... Oh, my gosh. What? Can I not ask?
I know you.
You know what I'm going to ask?
Yes, I know what you're going to ask.
I just want to ask if she still has a dick.
I tell people this. I like to leave this part a mystery because it's entertaining for me.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. If you ever see me in a pair of shorts, or if you ever see me in some lingerie, which I don't know why you would, although I do post it on Instagram, I'm kind of a hoe in my heart. But you won't see a bulge.
Okay.
So I'll put it that way.
Okay.
That way. It's nice and flat. So
I got you.
I'll let people figure that one out.
I like it. I like that answer.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm sorry.
No.
It's just it popped up, so to speak.
No, I mean, but a lot of people do, and that's fine. But and then too, that's sometimes why I choose to use the term transsexual.
Okay.
Right.
Now, this is kind of debated in the trans community.
Okay.
Because a lot of trans people don't like the term transsexual because they feel like it puts too much focus on people's genitalia.
Okay.
But, yeah, but this is why I use the term transsexual, because the distinction can be that a transsexual is somebody who has undergone surgeries and hormones in order to transition, whereas someone who is transgender may or may not have had surgery or hormones.
Okay.
Well, that's why I use the term transsexual, so that it helps people understand where I'm at physically.
Because Jeff and I literally discussed that over our cheap meal pizza tonight. Because he said, Angie, is it transgender or transsexual? And I said, I don't know if there's a certain time that it goes from transgender to transsexual to woman.
I don't want to piss her off. Like,
well, but we
or people that might be transgender listen.
But I think everybody knows. We're just curious. We don't know. Because we don't know, so that's why we're asking.
I'm curious.
Exactly.
I asked because I'm curious because I watched that video of it was a diagram video, but it was of they took that penis
Oh, gosh.
And they like reversed it. They
Oh.
turned it up inside. They took the skin. They made the clit.
You're
they
hurting
made
me.
the like everything. And I'm like, I want to know what it feels like to a woman myself, so I can be a little bit better.
Oh,
but
You know,
but to like, it's interesting to me. Is all I'm gonna say.
it's well, I'll tell you this. You can still. I hate to be this graphic, but you know,
No, please. I like graphic.
you can still have orgasms.
Okay.
You,
Thank
you can
God.
Still, yeah, like it functions like a vagina from
Okay.
birth.
Okay.
I mean, of course, we can't birth children currently, but it works.
Okay, gotcha.
I can say that.
That's good.
Oh, my goodness. Runyon.
Well, that's where look. This is for real. Like, I want to know things.
No, I know. You do.
And
all we know
I've
is
got my option.
All we know is what we see on TV and these stupid videos we watch, and we don't know real life.
Well, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and stuff comes up with the transgender community, and
Right.
things come up, and like the gender dysphoria I heard people talking about, and it's just, I know there's some touchy areas.
Sure.
But when it comes to and I'm sorry, I'm a dude. That's my problem. Is I guess I'm a dude, and I know dudes are listening. They're like, what about the genitalia?
They want to know,
Right,
They
right.
want to know.
And there's a lot of people
I,
that tuned out when you said you lose an erection. They're gone. They disappear.
Oh, exactly. They were totally gone. But I think it's natural for people to wonder. There are a lot of trans people that do not like for people to ask about their surgeries.
Right.
I happen to be more open,
Uh-huh.
all I can say is that it does work
Good.
like a vagina.
Okay.
And like I said, if you ever see me in anything, you won't see a bulge. So
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right.
So-
it's nice and flat.
Gotcha. So what is life like for you now? Present day now. What's life like for you?
As far as as far as what, I'm sorry.
You're like as far as your transition, like what are you, do you feel complete? Do you feel like there's still things you want to do in that area?
Yeah, that's a good question. I still don't feel complete.
Okay.
To be honest, I still feel like I look way too masculine.
Okay.
So that is something I'm still working on, and the hormones help with that.
Okay.
But I'm still just to be, completely transparent, I'm very insecure about my appearance
Okay.
still.
So and you still have more hormones that you're doing now?
Yeah.
Okay. Got you.
I have to take them every day, even after you've had, surgeries and things like that.
Uh-huh.
We still have to continue on hormones.
Got you.
Now the dosage can go down.
Okay.
But yeah, I take them every single day.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And I think that
I call them my pretty pills.
And as time goes on, I think that because you posted on your Instagram that picture of is it your friend? It was the first picture when he was male.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Oh, that's right. You showed
he
me
was
that.
Amazing.
That's
Yeah.
an amazing trip. But how? I'm not.
But I mean, you would think she was like I stalked your Instagram. I did.
Yeah, you did.
And I was like, I saw the picture. I can remember the picture with the midriff, like
Right.
with your, and I was like, this is a woman.
Yes,
like
100%.
This is a woman.
Yeah.
So you might feel insecure, but I think that's probably what a woman. You're a woman and a
Yeah.
woman. Like, I think all women, my daughters, they're
Right.
always hard on themselves.
Oh, and my daughter just posted something
Well,
tonight.
I appreciate that, because coming from a man, that helps like 10 times more
Oh yeah.
than coming from a woman.
Yeah.
And that's
Hear
kind of,
that,
Yes.
that's what I'd ask, like, dating, like, she's asking about your life. I mean, dating wise for you, I don't know if you're dating or if you're like, because when you say that, I don't know if you're like holding back, but is it hard? Because I think that it'd be very hard if you're worried about it anyway. Maybe you're not, but like men, like what do you got to tell them? What do you feel like you're obligated to disclose about your past? You know what I mean? Like that's got to be confusing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's to be honest, I have never had a relationship in my life.
Yeah.
I've went on dates, but
Okay.
I am almost 28 years old, and I've never had a boyfriend ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this has made it even more complicated because, you know, there are a lot of people that might see me and they don't know that I am trans.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure they
and
don't.
So that's even more scary because, you know, if a guy is interested in you or if a guy does start talking to me or hitting on me, I am like scared shitless because I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to tell him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like,
Yeah.
you know, and then that, of course, can create any type of response. I mean, he might lose his shit.
Right.
He might be cool with it. You know, what I found, though, is, and I'm not saying this is fair, I'm just saying this is how it is,
Right.
that, you know, there are a lot, I've discovered, number one, I've discovered that there are a lot of men that actually do have an attraction to trans women.
Yes.
There are.
I have found
Absolutely.
that out. And, you know, it's more widespread than people think.
Yes.
But I've noticed if you want to have any shot at a normal life, you know, dating publicly, getting married, that whole thing, the more that you pass, and that's a term that we use in the trans community. Basically, if you're a trans woman, the more that you look like a biological woman, the better your chances are.
Yeah.
So that's why there's such a big emphasis on hormones and surgeries, because we want to be able to have a normal life.
Well, sure.
You know, and there are some men that might like trans women, but they will not date you unless you
kink.
look like a biological woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
And
there's
it's so difficult.
there's probably a kink out there. Like, I mean, I know, like, it's a popular, like, porn category.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So there's probably men out there that are married, that have families, that just want to
Listen,
they just
I
want to
got a
hook
few
up with a
friends,
trans
yeah,
woman,
so-
but they don't
Yeah.
they don't want to be with you. They don't want to.
Right.
exactly. And that's what happens. We end up being the dirty little secret.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had married men inbox me before, do this and that, and it's very demeaning.
Yeah.
You know,
That is.
because you know that a lot of them are never going to give you the chance. But they're not, I guess the way I would say this, they're never going to make an honest woman out of you.
No.
They're just going to keep you as their dirty little secret, and that's not what I want for my life. So
No, that's not what you want.
I
No.
won't inbox you anymore. I'm sorry.
Jeff Runyon. He's so stupid.
I wasn't going to tell Anthony. I wasn't going to say nothing, but you know,
Aren't you funny?
that's not bad.
He's always making jokes, that Runyon.
Sorry.
You're so funny, Jeff. Oh my gosh. Well, I like I said, when we first decided to do this podcast and we started talking about guests, I started thinking about the people that I know that are very inspirational, and immediately, you can ask Jeff, immediately I was like, oh my gosh, we got to contact Storm. We got to talk to Storm, because
First name out of her mouth.
your story,
Wow.
no, honestly, your story to me is just so inspiring, and I love your passion. I love that you know who you are, and that you're fighting, and that you're killing it. I mean, look at you. Yeah.
Wow.
You say
That means a whole lot.
you say that you feel, you know, you have insecurities, and I think every woman does. But I look at you and I see a woman, and I see you're beautiful. Your makeup's on point. Your hair is always nice. And your clothes are, and then I'm over here in my like yoga pants and ponytail, and I'm like, well, my gosh.
You know, the grass is always greener.
No.
The grass is
Always.
It is. You always, no matter who you are, and I think that's the problem with us
Yeah.
all as humans, is we freaking look and we
We do.
want to, you know, think we could be. We want something else.
Yeah, and especially girls and women.
Exactly.
And just like I was saying a second ago. I mean, literally, right before we started this podcast, I was on Instagram and I saw my 15-year-old daughter say, "Oh, I wish I was as pretty as some of these girls I'm seeing on Instagram." That breaks my heart. She's gorgeous.
Oh, I bet.
She's gorgeous. And so...
Yeah, you have beautiful children.
There's so many hot women on Instagram.
It's so much pressure. It's so much pressure.
It
and I'm
is.
sure for
It
guys
really
too,
is.
but really, girls have to deal with a lot. And women have to deal with a lot. And insecurities is one of them. And I'm just saying this to let you know that I... Obviously,
and women are competitive, man.
Well, we are, but I'm trying to tell her she has no reason to be insecure, and you're interrupting me.
Well, but she doesn't. I've said that. I mean,
I'm just saying.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I needed that.
You are welcome. But Jeff, what were you trying to say? I'm so sorry. I interrupted you. I do that all the time. I'm always interrupting Jeff.
You jump in, and I have no idea what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
Other than,
well,
this is amazing conversation. I have like so much going on in my head.
And that's why we hope that you can be a recurring guest with us. Because there's so much more we can talk about. Other than we got all that out of the way. Now let's talk about, all the other stuff. But
absolutely, I would love to be able to come back.
Great.
I could talk about the religion aspect.
Oh, that's a whole, that's,
oh yes. That's a podcast.
That's a whole nother one. Because and I'm just going to say this, and then I'll leave it at there. I'm going to admit something right now. I was one of those. I'm not now because of Jeff. He's moving the microphone away from me because I'm about to get...
You're so loud.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I'm trying to say, I'm admitting something right now.
Confess.
I'm confessing. I was one of those. I'm not now because of a lot of stories like yours. And Jeff, we've had a lot of talks. Jeff's very smart at this kind. He knows how to talk to me. But I was one of those that thought it's absolutely a choice. And now I do not think that. And my mind has opened. I'm so much more open-minded now because I was stuck in that religion bubble. I was stuck in that religion bubble of...
That's amazing.
Yeah, of honestly thinking, because that's how I was brought up. That's what was pushed into my head. And until I could start really thinking for myself and watching for myself, not because somebody told me this is what it is when I changed my mind. And I have changed my mind. I do not think like that at all. 100% not at all. But so that's
a huge turnaround.
It really, really is. Because my family still, I love my family. They're great. They're amazing people. They would do anything for you.
Awesome.
And so would Jeff's family. But I don't know that they would say the same thing. And so it's just like frustrating to me. But that's a whole nother conversation, like you said. But I love your story. I love you're very inspiring. And I think that you putting it out there on Instagram, putting it out there for people to see helps people.
And you can, no matter who you are or what you've been made, whether you believe you've been, who Storm is, who Jeff is, who Angie is, if it's God created you or you don't believe God created you, I just believe that if it's not positive, in which that's the problem I have with some things that I've seen in my lifetime, is this trying to scare people or control people.
Yeah.
To tell them they can't be who they are.
Right.
That's not, if I believe there's a God, if there is a God, that's not what God is. He's not saying, that's scary.
Yeah, it is.
To think that God's like, no, you can't be you.
Right.
Exactly.
He didn't create that.
Right.
So.
And you know what? And I think that's why one of my favorite scriptures to this day, because although I don't practice Christianity anymore, I still glean from certain scriptures. And, is in the book of Jeremiah, like the very first chapter, I think it's like verse 5, and he's basically saying to Jeremiah, I knew you when you were in the womb.
Yeah.
You know, I knew exactly who you were going to be. And I take so much comfort in that, because I'm like, you know what? I'm not a mistake. Because one of the things that people always say was, do you think that God made a mistake when he made you? And I'm like, first of all, I think God is a she, so that's the first thing. Secondly, I'm like, God already knew exactly who I was going to be.
Yeah.
I'm not a surprise. I'm not a mistake.
Absolutely.
I'm not a blunder. And I think that's what I would want to kind of leave with people, especially people who are trans that might be listening, is that you were known before you even knew yourself.
Right.
And you're not a mistake. It's not. I think life is all about discovering who you are and then growing into that person.
Yes.
You don't start off knowing who you are. You have to grow into that.
Yeah.
And God loves you and embraces you for who you are and where you're at.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Whatever you believe. I don't know. I could talk about the religious side just because it's been so beaten into me and the discoveries I've had. I don't know. It's just...
Hey, I'll pull out the offering plate and make sure you get paid well.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. Okay,
it.
well, on that note, I hope that you come back again and talk to us because, again, we have so much more we could talk about and just be a reoccurring guest, and who knows what we'll get into. But
that'd be awesome.
Thank you so much for your time tonight, Tatiana. It's been amazing.
It has been.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And we're going to have you back soon.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.